The toy that was on that shelf, it wasn't just a toy, and I only realized that when it spoke to me without anyone touching it. This happened in a city completely different from ours. Bigger, more modern, too bright to hide anything, but that, somehow, managed to hide exactly what shouldn't be there. We went there for a family event, something simple, and ended up spending the night at my sister's house. Everything seemed normal, clean, organized, quiet, but there was a strange feeling that I couldn't ignore from the moment I walked into that house. It wasn't direct fear, it was something deeper, as if the place was occupied, not by people, but by something that didn't belong in that environment. We slept in my nephew's room, an 8-year-old boy. A normal room, apparently. Light walls, toys scattered around, a light smell of baby powder, but there was a detail that bothered me more than it should have. A large corner shelf, from floor to ceiling, completely filled with stuffed animals. There weren't just a few, there were dozens. Bears, rabbits, dolls with plastic eyes that reflected any small beam of light, all stacked in a strange way, almost forming a wall. And the worst part, most of them were facing directly toward the bed. It may seem irrelevant, but that night, it felt like they were all watching. It was around 2 in the morning when I woke up for the first time, abruptly, as if someone had called me very close to my ear, but without making any sound. My body was heavy, but my mind was completely awake, and that's when I heard it. A low sound, irregular, like an electronic hiss, mixed with something that seemed like an attempt at a voice. It wasn't coming from outside the room. It wasn't coming from the house. It was coming from there, from inside. I stayed still, trying to understand, with my heart racing, until the sound simply stopped, as if it had realized that I was awake. I tried to convince myself that it had been a dream, turned to the side, and went back to sleep. But it didn't take long for me to wake up again, this time with my little daughter crying. A different cry, restrained, desperate, as if she was afraid to make noise. She clung to me tightly, trembling, and kept staring fixedly at a point in the room. Not at the door, not at me, but directly at the corner shelf full of stuffed animals. And that wasn't something new. She had been waking up like that for days, always at the same time, always around 3 in the morning. Out of 4 children, only she was going through this. And at that moment, it stopped seeming like a coincidence. While I tried to calm her down, I noticed that the environment was different, heavier, denser, as if the air was too thick for such a small room. It was as if there were more people there than there should be. That was when, without thinking much, looking directly into the darkness where the stuffed animals were, I spoke in a firm voice. "If there is something or someone here, I order you to manifest yourself to me." The silence that came afterward was not empty. It was an answer. A dry click echoed in the room. And right after, a voice, low, mechanical, but with something deeply wrong in the way it sounded. "Hello, how are you?" My entire body froze. It wasn't just fear, it was the feeling that something had just crossed a limit that should never be touched. My mind tried to react, to find some logical explanation, some toy activated by pressure, a malfunction, anything. But deep down, I knew that had not been normal. Even so, I tried to ignore it, lay down again, closed my eyes, but it was impossible to relax with that growing sensation of being watched. And then, the voice came again, clearer, closer, more conscious. I could no longer stay lying down. I got up slowly, feeling my entire body tense, as if each step was wrong. As I approached the corner shelf, the environment seemed to change. The smell became stronger, a strange odor of old plastic mixed with something damp, almost organic. When I stopped right in front of the pile of stuffed animals, without touching any yet, the voice spoke again, this time lower, almost in my ear. "I am watching you." My stomach turned instantly. At that exact moment, my older daughter, who was sleeping on a mattress on the floor, moved irritably and murmured, still sleepy, "Dad, turn off the phone." That destroyed any doubt. I was not the only one who heard it. That was real. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain control, and turned on the light. And that's when I noticed. Among all those stuffed animals, there was one that had not been there before. It was not mixed with the others. It was slightly in front, as if it had been placed there afterward. And the worst, it was facing directly toward me. Its eyes were too open, too fixed, as if they were not just toy eyes, as if there was something behind them, looking back. And in that moment, I was sure of one thing. That voice was not coming from just any toy. It was coming from that one. I stood still for a few seconds, staring at that toy as if, somehow, it would react again, as if it was waiting for me to make the next move. The sensation that took over me was not just fear, it was something deeper, more uncomfortable, as if I had crossed an invisible limit by answering, by listening, by approaching. It was not just a strange object in that room, it was as if it had presence. And the more I looked, the more the idea that that toy simply was there stopped making sense. It seemed positioned, placed, as if it had been left exactly that way to be seen, or worse, to see. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain control, especially because my daughters were still there, and I began to act in the only rational way I had left at that moment. I approached the shelf and began to press, one by one, all the toys around. Each click echoed too loudly in the silent room. Each childish phrase that came out of those dolls seemed completely out of place, almost disturbing in that context. Some said simple things, others only made sounds, and some did not work anymore. But I continued, insisting, feeling my heart beat faster with each attempt, until I finally reached that specific toy. When I pressed its button, it responded, but not in the way I expected. The voice that came out was common, programmed, childish, completely different from the one I had heard. That, instead of relieving, made everything worse, because it meant that what spoke to me was not part of it. Even so, I decided to remove it from there immediately. I took the toy in my hand and, the moment I touched it, I felt something that made me freeze inside. It was not cold like any object should be at that hour of the night. It was warm, not hot, but with a strange temperature, as if it had been held recently. That made no sense at all. I swallowed hard, without saying anything, and took the toy to the other side of the room, as far away as possible from the bed. I did not want it near me, nor near my daughters. After that, without even thinking much, I began to pray. It was not something rational, it was instinctive. I prayed the prayer of Saint Benedict several times, almost in a whisper, as if trying not to draw the attention of something that might still be there, listening to every word. Then I asked for protection from Saint Joseph, with the constant feeling that that room was still not empty, that something still remained, just quiet. And then the silence returned. But it was not a normal silence. It was a silence that seemed to watch back. After that, there were no more sounds, no voice, no movement. Little by little, exhaustion overcame fear, and I managed to sleep. But it was a light, broken sleep, the kind in which any minimal noise makes you open your eyes immediately. When morning came, the first thing I did was take the toy again. I needed an explanation. I needed to prove to myself that it had been some defect, some error, anything that would allow me to return to normal. I analyzed the toy carefully, and that was when I noticed something even more unsettling. It had a specific button, firm, that needed to be pressed hard to activate the phrases. It was not sensitive. It was not something that could be activated on its own or by pressure from other toys. Even so, I began to press the button repeatedly, listening to all the programmed phrases, one by one, paying attention to every detail, every intonation. But none of them, not a single one, resembled what I had heard that night. Neither "hello, how are you?" nor "I am watching you." That simply did not exist there. It was at that moment that a much worse doubt began to grow inside me, something that I have not been able to ignore since then. Was that connected to my sister's house, or was it connected to my daughter? Because there was something that did not match. My sister is pregnant, living a very good moment financially, and there are those who say that phases like that attract things, energies, presences that approach when everything seems too good. But at the same time, my little daughter had been waking up every night, always at the same time, always scared, always looking at something that no one else could see. And then I remembered something that, until that moment, seemed irrelevant. About 15 days earlier, I had seen my children watching a video on YouTube. That game, Charlie. At the time, I warned them, said that it was not a joke, that they should not mess with that. They laughed, said it was just a game, just the internet. But since that day, my daughter has never slept through the night again. And that is not the worst part. The worst is that even after that night, even after leaving that house, it did not stop. Because sometimes, in the middle of the night, when everything is in absolute silence, I wake up with the same sensation, that heavy feeling that there is someone in the room, watching, waiting, and once, just once, I was sure I heard it, low, almost imperceptible, coming from a dark corner of the room. The same voice, clear, cold, impossible. "Hello, how are you?" But this time, there was no toy near, and my daughter was already looking directly at that corner, even before the voice spoke.